Two, one.
So, hello, I am G, your down and dirty yogi, and I am here, first of all, to ask you to subscribe to my channel. But I'm also here to tell you my yoga journey, if you will, how yoga's helped evolve my life and helps me with reinvention, um, and how it's all come together through my practice and how it has really changed my life in so many ways. And I want to tell people that not just that it's yoga, but how we really change and evolve through something that we let touch our spirits. So I want to talk so much about these things. And so one of the things that I really thought, what can I share with people about growing their yoga practice? And what does it mean, really, to say you're deepening your practice? And, a lot of times we're just like, oh, it means I get to put my, like my leg or something above my head or doing these, crazy poses that we see. But that's not necessarily deepening your practice of yoga. It's so much more than the physicality. I mean, I don't know if I can still get my leg behind my head because I haven't tried to do that shit in a really long time now. So I think that when you let something infect into your life and it becomes so revolutionary, you should talk about it. So that's what I wanted to do. So my story, my kind of yoga story. Um, well, I started probably practicing yoga maybe 15 years ago, and I was in like this really crazy place. I had just lost my grandma, and I'm like one of those people. It's like my energy like can become so overwhelming, and I had all this built up anxiety, I don't know, energy or whatever. But I didn't like just be like, this wasn't like yoga wasn't my answer actually to this. So I didn't like snap and be like, oh, this like yoga. It was I was an emotional shopper, and I didn't really think about it in this way, like emotional shopping, or spending or whatever. Like I didn't think that was like something that I grasped onto. But like even the shopping, it wasn't enough. So I still had all this energy, this like pulsating stuff inside of me that I didn't know where to put. And so I started like kickboxing. I was like doing weightlifting classes. I was doing all of these physical activities like every day. Like this was my shit. I was ripped. Like it wasn't a bad thing. Like I was I was ripped. And I remember like I didn't even realize how like ripped I had gotten. Like I was seriously like I was with a friend and he's like, so you've been working out, huh? Like not like a romance, just a friend. And so I was like, yeah, but what does that mean? He was like, so I was, because I was doing the protein shakes. You can't just be going doing all this shit and you weren't doing all the shit, like all of the things that they say to do. So, um, so anyway, I was like, oh shit, I didn't want to be like, you know, ripped, whatever that meant. But I had started also practicing yoga. I was like doing intense like Ashtanga classes, and if you know anything about yoga, Ashtanga, like it was like fucking meant for teenage boys in India, like to basically get all their crazy boy energy out, right? Um, so anyway, I was doing all of these different forms of yoga, and I always felt so good afterwards, that I would be biking 5 miles because I still have fucking energy. But um, this was the beginning of my evolution, my yoga story. So that's why I'm talking about it. And I don't even think I really realized how yoga was starting to affect my whole life at this point. Yeah, I started to do so many things differently. You know, like I definitely started to date even differently. How I looked at my relationships with men. I probably became a little bit of a serial dater, and not like yoga's like go out and be a hoe, y'all. But I really was like exploring, like, okay, who is right for me? What are they bringing energetically? And so it wasn't like completely superficial, but it was also um, a thing of not thinking everybody was going to be the man of my life, or the, you know, like whatever, the person forever and ever. Like shit changes, we evolve, we change. So I think in some ways I had already started like incorporating like these non-permanence, being in the present kind of things in my life, in my existence, without really realizing it, because I was a single mom. Oh, thank you. um So here's my baby. And I was just saying I was a single mom 20 years ago. And I went, you know, I had my son young, obviously. Let's look at me. I'm obviously still young, right? I had my first son young. And when you have your child, you have a child young. It's not necessarily it's not the most welcomed moment in your life. So it was definitely a struggle in so many ways. I had to go through university. Okay. Huh? What do you see? Mama, Mama. Yeah, so my life has completely changed. I went from being a single mom and basically poor, if you will, to being unemployed and lost and completely devastated because of all of the things that had happened in my life. And then to being an expat. I've lived in Guatemala now, and I was married to a French man, and I lived in Paris. And then I was on holiday all by myself because my relationship in France was falling apart, and I was on holiday on my own in Italy for my birthday, and I happened upon someone in a park while I was looking for food. And a few days after we met, you know, it was actually pretty innocent. So we were just hanging out. He was showing me Italy and doing some of the strange things that I wanted to do, and being just very gentle and kind, and everything that I was not getting, you know, in France. And then I was leaving after being here. I was actually not going back to Paris right away. I went to Venice, I went to Rome, and he was like, don't go, you know, stay here. And I was like, that's not what people do. Actually, my story was featured in an article in New York Times about Black girls who have found love in Italy, but Black women, girl women. So he kept inviting me back. You know, he's like, don't go to Venice, stay in Milan, don't go to Rome, you know, all of this. And then you know, every place he was like, don't go. And then when it was time for me to go back to Paris, he was like, don't go back to Paris. And I would say maybe a day or two after returning to Paris and having multiple fights, if you will, with my husband there, he said something to me, the husband, he said something to me, and it was pretty much the defining point. You know, it's like he was like, if you're not happy, you should leave. Now he said this to me before, and I had told him then, don't ever invite me to leave again because I'll go. And, you know, karma in life tests you. It's like, were you serious? Were you gonna go? You know, the next time you said it or put it out there and the energy was there. So he said it and I left. Not immediately here to lie. And a friend of mine was like, I'll get you a hotel. So ultimately, when I spoke to him again, I was like, I'm going to leave. And he thought I meant for another holiday, maybe, or something. And I called the guy that I met here in Italy, and I was just like, what did you want with me? You know, why would you invite me to stay? Well, if you guys like a show of drama, intrigue, and never knowing what's going to happen, make sure you subscribe if you haven't already. And he's like, because I want you to be here with me. And I was like, man, I didn't know him. I was literally in Milan, y'all, like 3-4 days. Like, that was it. I didn't meet him my first day here, but I was just like, why? Like, why me? You know? What does, like, yeah, I'm cute and all, but why me? So basically, he had invited me to his house at the sea and and I was like, okay, I'm coming. I'm gonna come. So I packed up like all my shit. No, yeah, I packed up all my stuff. Asked a friend, I put half of it in storage at their place. Thank you, friend. And I brought half my shit with me to Italy. And I realized nobody knew where I was going. I hadn't told my oldest son. I hadn't told anybody really what was happening. I had great support from friends who knew my situation, who understood what I was dealing with. And, you know, one of my besties, who basically was like, girl, you better go. You know what I mean? Like, go. It could change your life. Like, something's going to happen on this trip. She predicted it. She knew. And I was like, all right, I'm doing it. Like, I went. And it did change my life. And I say this is also associated with my yoga practice because I was so present and I was so in the moment and I was so ready and willing to sit with things that were new and difficult and willing to try something based on the energy, you know, and the path that this was taking me on. So I just did it, you know. And then I got to the airport, you know, after I told, you know, I was in an Uber and I told one of my friends and she was like, do you need money? Do you want to just come back home? Like, I can help you, you know, if you need a ticket back, you can stay with me. I think like I get to the airport and that's when I was like, I don't know where this man lives. What if he doesn't meet me where he says we're going to meet? I felt that, and I was getting a few text messages from the husband, and I was just like, he don't know this over, y'all. Like, it's done. Like, it's done, son. I'm gonna have to tell y'all the stories of him as well, but that's for a later thing. This is my story. All right, yeah. So I left Paris, and I love Paris. I probably love Paris more than I love the man that was there. But I do love Paris, and at this point I still don't know that, like, what's happening and what I'm doing and how this is all going to round out. I just don't know, but I just followed my breath. You know, like they tell you to do all the time in yoga. I followed my breath, and my energy didn't prove me wrong. I get to Italy, and he was exactly where he said he would be, and he had breakfast. Okay. it was an early morning flight. He brought me breakfast to our meeting point, and I was like, oh, okay, can't be so bad. And then we went to his place, and the next day we went to the sea. And what he did not tell me about the sea was that this house is a house, but he's like, my house by the sea. No, it's a family house. It wasn't no his house. It's a family house, and which is fine. But he didn't tell me. I don't know. Actually, I don't know if I would have wanted to know that I was going in this weird situation after knowing this man, really just a few days. I mean, if you want to count the 10 days I was, on my trips in other places. I don't know, but we weren't together during that time, so we were only really in person about 3 days with one another. And so I don't know if I would have wanted to walk into this situation knowingly, and maybe he knew that because he didn't tell me that I would be meeting his entire family. And I mean entire, like mama, daddy, brothers, wives, like brother, wives, like of the brother, not his wives, cousins, and all of that. Like, I don't know if I would have wanted to walk into that situation knowingly, and I guess he knew that because he didn't tell me. Basically, on the way there is when I find out. We're on the train. We're we're almost there. Is when I'm like, so tell me about like what are we gonna do? And he's like, well, my mom. And I was like, your mom? What? And that's when I find out that I'm meeting basically the entire family straight on. And I'm like, do they know I don't know. Like, I didn't know what to expect. Like because it's something else, right? Anyway, long story short, it went fine. And by the next summer, I had the bigger one that was here. I had a new baby, or was pregnant that next summer, new baby, and then now, kind of over the past few years, that's what's happened. So, yeah, I feel like if I had not found yoga, I would not have learned how to let go of the fears that I have, the anxieties that hold you back, being able to trust myself, being able to find my energy and follow it. Those are things that have affected and evolved my life through this practice. And I'm going to be telling you more of these type of stories that are personal to me, my thoughts, and how I've incorporated this practice, this life, into my parenting, into the struggles that I've had. And yeah, that's what we're going to be talking about on my channel. And we're also going to be doing practices. So I post new practices every week, every Tuesday. So please come back and practice with me. If you guys have requests or anything, let me know. I also do lives sometimes. If you are following me, you will know. So again, subscribe, leave me comments, let me know what you guys are thinking, questions you have. If there was something I kind of touched on that you want me to talk about next, let me know. But I'm going to be posting regular vlogs. So after this one, I'm going to be doing something every week as far as vlogging as well. And I'll be doing other edits with the kids and them practicing yoga with me. And it's going to be so much fun. So I am looking forward to sharing more stories, more of my insights, my personal insights, and things in my life. And let me know if you have questions. Again, leave me comments, and I promise I will respond. So I'm going to let you guys go and get my little ones to sleep. It's getting evening time here. So ciao for now.